Hello everyone, it's Melanie here with Vintage Hill Studio. I'm so glad you dropped by today. I'll be making a beautiful card featuring this cross. And here are the supplies. I found the die on Amazon. I'll be using this beautiful vellum paper with the butterflies, some Neenah metallic paper, and then a few clear stamps to make my own background paper. I'll also be using this doily lace frame. All of these supplies can be found on my card blog, so I encourage you to come by and check it out. Here is a close-up look on the papers that I'll be using. There will be a couple of pieces for mats and a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base. So let's get started. I will use that die on that Neenah metallic paper, and this is what it looks like after it's been die cut. You will get two pieces, the intricate piece and a solid piece. Then I will move on to the vellum and the white mat, which are both cut at the same dimensions. But you see that looks rather plain, so that's why I decided to go through and I'm going to make a little background paper for behind the vellum. So to do that, I'll bring over these clear stamps. One says praise his name. I'll use the hope and peace, and then I'll pull over another set that also has a scripty love word in it. And I'll use Memento London Fog. It's a gray ink that's subtle, but you could still see it clearly through the vellum, which is the idea here as I go through and make my background paper. So as I go through showing you this, I wanted to tell you a little something I found on the internet about vellum. It's actually, made of cellulose fibers, meaning from plants and trees. And did you know that back in the day, vellum was made by stretching calf skin over a wooden frame and then processing it for writing? The animal-based vellum is still manufactured today, but of course it's expensive and takes a long time. So vellum, of course, is translucent or see-through, and there's also an opaque version, which means you can't see through it, and they're all made with cellulose fibers. When air is trapped between the fibers, the paper is opaque. When the air is not present in the fibers, you get translucent vellum. So there's just a little bit of trivia for you. I thought that was interesting. And I never really thought too much about vellum paper. I just knew I liked it. So back to our card making process. You can see I've stamped the 4 words, which I will do throughout the rest of this mat. And then I'm going to take that smaller verse and fill in between the bigger words. We'll go horizontally and vertically as you see here. This is my finished background paper. And while it looks a little stark right now, when you get the vellum over it, it softens it up. But I think that adds just the right amount of detail behind my vellum paper. Here are my 2 mats, one using the metallic paper, one using the gray. I'm going to bring those over and start laying this out. And you can see I want to offset my cross over there on the left-hand side, just so I don't cover up the flowers in that corner and that beautiful butterfly. And this is kind of what it's going to look like. And I wanted to see what the cross looked like without the solid piece, but I've kind of like it in there. So to get my vellum attached to that handmade background, I used a spray adhesive, which leaves no residue. You can't tell where it's adhered. It just goes on clearly over my mat. Next, I will bring over my crocodile because I thought with the curves there from the doily, the lace doily embossing folder, it would look good if I added a curve to those corners. So the first thing I'm going to do is I brought over my silicone mat. You know how I love that little thing for all adhesives. I'm adding liquid adhesive behind this embossed mat. I'm going to adhere that onto my card front. Set that aside to dry for a little bit. The gray will go right over the top of that. And while that's drying, I'm going to take my crocodile on the 1/2 inch corner cropper and go around all of my corners. And the reason I went ahead and adhered that doily to my card front is because I want my card to have rounded corners as well. So like I said, I let that dry for a few minutes, and then I'll go in and round the corners of the mat that is already adhered to my card front. And you can see the crocodile does a great job going through all those thicknesses. It's no trouble. Alright, so this is how it's going to come together. The gray mat will go directly over the metallic, and then I decided that I wanted my vellum mat to stand up a little bit away from the gray. So I will adhere some foam tape on the back of my vellum layer. And also on that inlaid solid piece, I will add a little foam tape behind that as well. So I'll get my gray mat put down quickly here. And then off camera, I've already added my foam tape to the back of my vellum layer. As you can see here, this will not add too much bulk to the card, so it will still go through the mail easily. This adds just a little lift, and I'll show you a close-up on that in a minute. I think that sets off that vellum mat just beautifully. Okay, and then I added some of that same spray adhesive to the back of this cross because there's so many intricate cuts in it. It would be hard for me to use my liquid adhesive on that. And again, some foam tape behind the solid cross, which will inlay right into that die cut, but with a little lift. There we go. And that completes the front of our card. Isn't that beautiful? Just the intricacies of that die are gorgeous. Here's the inside of my card, my stamp on the back, and our completed card for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you will get inspired to give it a try or something similar, and that you learned a little something about vellum paper. It was so much fun to make this card. I'm so glad you dropped by today, and I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel or visit me on my card blog, which is listed below, so that you get notifications about the next videos. See you next time. Happy crafting, everyone.